Is it better thinking? Is it better thinking? I know you think that, like, you had a thing with Martina Navratilova.
What do you mean I have nothing? What do you mean?
A beef. Well, she has beef with you.
Why did she have a beef with me?
Because you think, like, guys with dicks should get in the women's swimming pool, basically.
Oh, no. Well, whatever got clipped and reposted, I don't know. But
Well, this sounds like it's going to be interesting. Bill Maher, our favorite liberal comedian, can we call him that? Not really. Our favorite so-called liberal talk show host who love to offend liberals, has on libtard Neil deGrasse Tyson, the science man, who I have a feeling is going to say some ridiculous things in this clip. Let's just get on with it and see what happens.
But what I said was that in this emergent space where you have people expressing themselves on a gender spectrum, and you want to now compete in sports, that's still a frontier to be solved. And I don't have the answer, but I can suggest one, whether or not it'll work. Maybe we don't compete by gender anymore. We compete on hormone ratios, okay?
Lol. Yeah, that's really going to work. Why don't we just not have any barriers at all and just have everyone compete openly? Yeah, just one single, just not, it could be by, not even weight classes, not gender classes, not sex classes, no categories at all. Just have everyone compete together. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, maybe there's a reason we have men's and women's sports. Let's see where he goes with this.
There was a woman who had uncommonly high testosterone levels, and they wanted to disqualify her because of how manly she was when she was born a woman and competing as a woman. So that's how we're going to do it.
This is
what you really want. Wait, Bill, no, I've thought this through more than you might think I have.
Oh.
So what you really want is an interesting contest between people who are similarly talented. The least interesting Super Bowl you could ever watch is a blowout by halftime.
See, what we agree on is that there are anomalies in human nature, whereas
yes.
The vast majority of people, I'm sorry, are still male or female. And certainly every cell in our body is dictating one of those other sexes. I mean, obviously...
Well, the hormones are. Yeah.
Obviously also I make sperm and other people make eggs.
That's what hormones do. Yeah.
You can't deny that. Okay. So but as liberals, I think agree that, there are anomalies in nature and they should be respected and protected. But this attempt to reorganize all of society around what a very tiny percentage, who again, we can protect and respect without pretending that every baby is a jump ball, like penis. What the fuck? I don't know. That doesn't mean anything. We have no idea what this child is. I mean, that seems to be where you want to go. I mean, like...
Bill's making a good point here, and I have to respect the approach he's taken. Of course, for the vast majority of human history, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, this hasn't even been an issue at all. Hasn't even been an issue, but suddenly it's become an issue. And yes, reorganizing society, exactly. It doesn't mean that we have to discriminate against people who express themselves differently or anything like that. But it does, on the other hand, it doesn't mean we should just reorganize everything that got us to where we are today on the basis of this, what is in effect a fad.
How many people fit this description that we should reorganize sports around? We have men's sports and women's sports. And if the best team in the WNBA played the worst team in the NBA, the score would be 1,000,000-0. Can we organize society around that basic point with this, of course, proviso that we protect and respect people who do not fit into it?
Actually, if the best team in the WNBA played the best, or a middling boys high school varsity team, I think the score would be 1,000,000-0.
Let's segregate society between dark-skinned people and light-skinned people, because that nature made it that way, and that's how it is. So
Well, nature
so
did make it that way.
You are.
And it,
Good point. First of all, that's not what Bill said at all. Segregation occurs. People are different. There are different ethnicities, different races, which is a superset of ethnicity. They're different from different countries, different religions, different cultures. People self-segregate all the time. But anyway, that's not what Bill was talking about. He was just talking about what a system that was working perfectly well. The gender warriors, the ultra woke, the progressives who are so progressive that they'll destroy everything that made our society what it is, and made our society, Western societies, the beacon for the rest of the world. They're so good that they attract millions and millions of migrants from around the world. Yeah, let's just throw all that out just because of this fad.
it's not segregating.
Well, there
it's
was a
not
time
segregating anything.
That attitude 150 years ago was
2 years ago. You act like this was yes, right. Lincoln. This was a big issue in the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Trans people. That's
No,
right.
I'm talking about.
That's a pretty good point. Nice one. Yeah, I see they're having drinks. I'm going to have a drink myself listening to this libtard scientist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, so-called scientist. Yeah, excuse me, but I've got a glass here. Cheers.
Remember that from
I'm talking about
1861. Yes, I remember those debates.
It was 1860,
and
I think,
Lincoln
but yeah.
was all about getting trans. Oh, for fuck's sake. You're ridiculous.
No. So here it is. Just all I'm saying is that. How about this? I'm looking at schools in Manhattan, and there's a school there, and there's an old from like built in the 20s and 30s, and there's a doorway that says boys, and a separate doorway on the other side of school that says girls. And I'm
Oh,
thinking,
God.
why are we doing this?
Because people are mostly boys and girls?
But why split them entering a school building?
Because they pee differently? Jesus Christ, I have to explain this?
No, because you know what I thought when I saw that? It's colored fountain over here, white fountain over here. That's what I thought.
Well, segregated schooling in the sense of not black and white, but segregated in the sense of boys' schools and girls' schools was very common all around the world, still is in many places. And maybe something we should think about going back to. If you see how boys perform in boys-only schools and boys-only classrooms, and how girls perform in girls-only classrooms. I know that's not the issue of this particular clip, but now that he brings it up with his hypothetical situation, yeah, why the hell not? You know, sometimes the people who went before us, they actually were quite wise, and we throw out all their knowledge and wisdom at our peril, and we end up in places like we're at today with these woke idiots and these progressives trying to cram their nonsense down ordinary people's throats, and they just want to change things to change them.
I saw that.
Well, that's not the same thing.
Well, it's not exactly the same thing, but that's what I thought. It's not exactly, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
But this is what I always say about these kind of issues. Like, there's two ways that you can be benighted about something. One, you can be too far from it.
Yeah.
Like, I would be too far from certain issues, racial issues, of course. Mm-hmm. How could I ever know?
Right.
You can also be lost sort of thinking-wise, as I am, because I'm too far from it, if you're too close to it.
Yes.
That can
You missed the elephant.
Well, you missed the elephant. It's the fly on the Mona Lisa. Mm-hmm. Why the fly wants to be on the Mona Lisa, I don't know, and I can't even appreciate art, but okay, you get my point. And so, like, I think when you see that, I totally understand why a man of your age does, but I don't think it's accurate.
So I used to wrestle, high school and college. Okay?
Whoa, respect. I wrestled for 1 year in high school, and I have enormous respect for wrestlers. 1 year, freshman wrestling team, I was useless. I was a fish. That's what they called me, the fish. The wrestling coaches are monsters, are maniacs, and wrestlers, especially he said he wrestled in college. Well, I'll give some respect to Neil deGrasse Tyson for that, because that's serious. College level wrestling in the United States, those guys are hardcore. Anyway, let's get back to the nonsense that I'm sure is going to come out of his mouth.
It's relevant to this conversation, believe it or not. So I was captain of my high school team, undefeated, although...
Wow.
But it was in New York. the real wrestlers are in like Iowa, and Oklahoma.
Oh,
Respect. He knows his stuff. That's absolutely true. Absolute monsters come out of that part of the country in wrestling.
I'm sure there's some wrestlers.
There's some, but if you really balance
New
it out,
York
it's
has
not.
no tough guys.
We got tough guys, but they'll shoot you or punch you in the face. They're not wrestling with wrestling moves. But anyhow, what you want is a match that's interesting to observe, not where one person dominates the other. In wrestling, they know this. There are 10 weight categories. In high school, I was 190 pounds. That was 50 pounds ago or more. I was 190 pounds. Very good incentive to stay there because if I were 1 pound over it, the next category was unlimited. So I was there at 190 pounds. I'm not wrestling someone 127. No. They find somebody else at 127 to wrestle 127. That makes the match more interesting for the viewer. So if we can split wrestling into 10 categories, and that becomes the wrestling match.
But all men against each other.
Correct.
Yeah, of course. This is not news, Neil deGrasse Tyson. All fighting sports are divided by weight class because mass has a massive effect. Skill, of course, is important. All these things are important, but sheer mass is one criterion which is super important when it comes to fighting sports. Let's see what his point is going to be.
Correct. So, so
Again,
now I get
sort
that.
of key point.
Okay. Okay. So all I'm saying is, what is it that makes the man the man? Is it the hormones? Okay. Is it if it's the hormones and you decide to give yourself a different cocktail of hormones? I'm making this up, by the way. I'm not saying it should happen this way. It's a way to start thinking about it.
It would be
maybe the track meets have hormone categories.
And maybe giving yourself the wrong hormones is deleterious to your health. Would you not admit that? Do you think we can just safely do things like this?
So you feel this way because you're so deeply concerned about the health of the people who are trying to find their place on the gender spectrum?
Jesus Christ, excuse me. Pardon my French. It's just the thought of encouraging the taking of hormones by children, which of course, don't even get me started on that. Gender affirming therapy, which includes, hormones, puberty blockers, much less mutilation, physical mutilation of the body, is outrageous. We shouldn't even be having this discussion as far as I'm concerned. This is absolutely appalling. And yeah, Bill rightly is already calling it out. Yeah, of course, the main issue isn't that, oh, you're worried about them taking hormones? Is that all you're worried about? No, of course they shouldn't be doing, that shouldn't even be an issue. They shouldn't even be discussing that. But he's already, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Mr. So-called science man, is already going to find a way, you can tell, to try to bat this down. Let's see what he says.
You care about their health so much that you don't want them to go through that?
It's not something that keeps me up at night, but when the subject comes up, I care about them like I care about all people. So if there is something...
You do, by the way. You think about all people.
Of course.
Yeah, I give you that.
Oh, okay. You're being
You think
sincere?
about all people. No, I'm being sincere.
Yeah, I do. Yes. Yeah. Old school liberal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want all people to have, make this very challenging world that we live in better. So that's why there's honest debate about this issue.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Bill came up with some excellent points in that video. Mr. TV Science Man, to be fair, he was just putting out hypothetical situations. He's playing devil's advocate a bit, kind of, but he's also playing along. He's playing into the woke madness. I just refuse, I think, ordinary, decent people should just not even play along with it. Don't even give it the time of day. Why should we even have a discussion about this? It's nonsense. Let me know what you think. And maybe I'm going over the top with this, but for me, it's not even a discussion we should have. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I've got to have another drink. It's a good thing. When I see this nonsense, it just gets my blood boiling. Anyway, guys, have a good one.